John here from How to Get Into Drama School, and today I am chatting with our student John Blake, who as of 2 weeks ago was accepted into Juilliard this year for his BFA. Congratulations, man. How do you feel?
I keep saying I kind of just feel like they made a mistake or you're just gonna take it away any second, honestly.
No, not at all.
But really it's insane. It's like, you know, all the work felt like it was worth something at the end of the day, which was nice.
Yeah, I bet. So let's backtrack. Let me let you introduce yourself, tell us how old you are, where you're from, all that kind of stuff.
Okay. Name's John Blake. I'm 18. I live in New Orleans. I don't know what else to say, but yeah.
No, that's
Um,
perfect. That's great. So why don't we, let's just dive into your audition story, because I think people want to hear about that and like hear about your experience from the inside, essentially,
yeah.
right? So let's start from the beginning. When did you start preparing? Do you remember?
I think I first started looking at plays, because I always like to just read plays as much as possible, but focusing on certain monologues that fit for me, maybe April or March of last year. So about a year ago, I've just been looking at it, but I'd say I started honing down and really starting to dive through some of the text for some monologues, maybe May or June, early June.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, and then I looked it up. You started coaching with us in October.
Yeah, it was pretty late. I was just doing a lot of work and I was like, this is not working out. So
Yeah. So we're talking about monologues. Let's talk about monologues. Which ones did you end up doing?
well, I had more prepared, but I ended up performing two for the Juilliard audition. It was Beggars in the House of Plenty by John Patrick Shanley. It was a monologue from that. And then I did King Lear, the Edmund monologue. That's what they asked me to do, but I worked on a couple others too.
Cool. And so with Edmund, how long had you been working on that piece? Did
That
you
was
you had it prior to when we started working, right? So
Yeah, that was the first piece that I found. Out of even the ones I didn't end up using. It was because I think I was auditioning for some King Lear production, and I was just trying to get some audition experience and just doing it. And it was the one where I forgot how the monologue actually goes, but it's the one where he's talking about the stars and if he was born under this time, that he'd be the same way as if he was born at another time. So I found that one. I was like, this is really cool. And I love King Lear. It's my favorite Shakespeare, but I hadn't have didn't read it or watch it for the actor point of view, just because I like Shakespeare. So then I read the Thou Nature monologue, and that one was this is definitely the one for Shakespeare.
Amazing. Um, did you have a lot of experience with Shakespeare prior
I've
to
never I've
here?
never performed Shakespeare. No, I did in my English class, we were supposed to memorize a part of Shakespeare. And this is my most embarrassing story. It was we were doing it was reading Othello. So I was doing Iago, and I did a scene from it. And it was just I was taking it super seriously. I turned off the lights and had a flashlight. And the whole class laughed at me, and the teacher felt bad, and I got an A plus, which was nice. But that was the extent of my Shakespeare experience before that.
Okay, amazing. And then with the Shanley play with Beggars, you found that pretty late,
It
right?
was, I hope the school doesn't see this, but it was 2 weeks, maybe 2 weeks to a month before we
Yeah.
actually did the first audition. Because I originally really wanted to do Mercy Seat, and I
Yeah.
actually ended up doing Mercy Seat for all of my other auditions except for this one. This was the first time I'd ever really performed it, which is not a good idea, and I don't recommend doing that. But that's just kind of how it ended up. Yeah.
Wow. So did you do Beggars for any of the other auditions, or was it always Mercy Seat and Ed?
I think it was always Mercy Seat. I think I never really got asked to do more than two. I think the one time I did, it was to do and I ended up doing am I allowed to curse? All right, stupid effing bird, if I'm allowed or not. And so I did that, but I never really ended up doing Beggars except for Juilliard.
Juilliard. Oh wow. Was it your first piece or your second piece? Which one did you start with?
I started with Beggars.
With
Yeah.
Beggars. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Um, Great. And then there were other pieces as well, right? In terms of monologues, there was Mercy. Did you have another Shakespeare as well?
Yeah, the Hamlet, Now Might I Do It, Pat. And then like the thing is like I worked on a couple of them with you, but like in my back it was like if they asked me to do eight because they like can't make up their mind. Like I had stuff that I had just like learned and like had worked on my own, but wasn't like 100%. But I felt like if I had to, I could do it. So there's like like the Friends are Almost Countrymen and
Yeah.
Richard III, like stuff like that. So like, but the main ones were the Hamlet, the King Lear, the Beggars, and Mercy Seat. I feel like those are like the main ones we worked on.
So talk to me a little bit about the initial audition process for Juilliard. Like you had several callbacks, right? So and it was all via Zoom again this year, right? So how was that experience for you? What happened?
It was really intense. Like I'm not a morning person at all, and I had to get up like 5:30. So the only reason I think I did semi okay is because I was just like running on adrenaline. Otherwise, it'd be like half awake doing them. But um, so there was like two groups on the Zoom. So we did like a warm up together as a group, like everybody.
Mhm.
That was awesome. Like I feel like the schools where they warmed up with you or like did something where you like got to talk to some of the faculty or students, like in some of the schools they just like boom, you're on the Zoom, go, and that's it. And that just like I felt like I always performed much better when I had something before. So it was a pretty like nice good warm up. And then they split us up into two groups. There was like the morning group and then there was a second group, and I was in the second group, and that was supposed to be like 11:30ish. It ended up being like at 12 or 12:30. And I think I was like the last, because my last name starts with a Z. So like throughout the whole thing, it was kind of all a blur, but I'm pretty sure that I was like the last person for every like single round.
Oh wow.
But yeah, so I did.
How many people were in that first round with you?
I don't, maybe 100 to 200
Oh
in
my
the
God,
whole.
that's a lot of people.
I
Wow.
think I could be 100% lying, but I feel like I was like, okay, how many people? How are they going to whittle it down? And I feel like 100 to 200 sounds about right.
Okay. So you started around 12:30, or your
Yeah.
group started then, and then were you like an hour later when they finally got to you, or how was that process? Did you have to wait a long time before getting to do your first audition?
Yeah, I had to wait a bit actually. Like when I was in the Zoom room, I think this is before even my first round, that I was like setting up and I was like, getting ready and like doing all the stuff and just trying to get all like emo and everything. And I actually ended up like breaking this glass candle that I had, and there was glass everywhere. For like
Oh
the
no.
12 hours I was on Zoom. So like throughout the entire day, I just like tiptoe around glass. But yeah, so after I broke the candle, I ended up having to wait. And yeah, maybe it was like 30 minutes to an hour. They just have like a list and they kind of just go down, and there's different rooms, like different breakout rooms. They have you on the list, and I think I was last. And so then I go into the room and it's like two teachers. I
Okay.
don't remember who it was in the beginning, but they were really sweet. I loved it. It's really incredible to see, because I think there's this idea when you think of the school, it's like very like proper and prestigious and all these things, but like it was really like the most kind, welcoming group of faculty that I had out of any of the auditions, which was great. So I went into the room and said hello, and then I did my first two pieces, and then they asked me to sing 16 bars of my song. I ended up like stopping halfway through, and they're like, keep singing. It's like, okay, okay. Because like I was just like, I knew I wasn't gonna hit that note. Ended up working out. But yeah, so I did my two pieces of my song, and I think
What
that
did
was
you sing?
I sing I've Never Been in Love Before. It was like the Chet Baker version.
Oh, okay. Oh, cool.
So yeah, I did that, and that was the first round. And
Did they
then
give you any kind of redirection, or was it just you did your two pieces, you sang the song, and then you were done?
yeah, I don't think there were any notes the first round. So yeah, it was like after that, they like I think you just start waiting again. You go back into another. There was like 20 different rooms and 20 different like it was a lot. Like it's very intense. And like the one thing I'd recommend is like keep snacking throughout the day, because I had a lot of trouble like eating because of how high my nerves were. So like
Yeah.
I'd like make a peanut butter sandwich, take three bites, eat a protein bar. Couldn't do it. Like just try to eat, because it was like at the end of the day, I was just like a zombie.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, so there weren't any notes, and we went into a waiting room. And then I think they told everybody like turn off their cameras, and they had like a list of the people for the callbacks. And I think this was just for the second group's callbacks. And I don't remember how many people. I know it was a lot less. Like it was not many people. It was so weird because like you'd go from, you know, a huge group of people to a small group of people to a little bit bigger to super small. So it was just like back and forth. But it was like a large percentage of people got cut out the first round. And I was like, there's no way I just got this call back. Like I because Juilliard is just like a reach. It was like, I might as well, like, you know.
Yeah.
And so after that, I waited a little bit, and then I did it again. And I think this time it was like in front of like all the faculty. I remember Evan was like the one I was looking at the whole time. And I really should have looked at the teachers, could kind of put me out of it. But that time I did the two pieces, and then I sang my song. But they did work on me with the Shakespeare, and there weren't many notes they gave. It was primarily just like try to genuinely ask the questions, because there's so many questions in that monologue. And it's just like really like reach out and make it active and like push out instead of introspective. And something I think, because it's all kind of a blur, but I think this happened where it was something about like just moving the energy out and like not, you know, just thinking and getting there and then like slow. It was just like move around, jump jacks, bam, go into it. And so that's prevented me from like building up like the walls that I have to not be like spontaneous and, you know, trust my instincts. And so that was that. And then after that, I think we got off of Zoom and got like a break for a bit. And we talked to some of the students actually. And they just talked about like their experience and answered questions. They're all
current students, you mean?
Yeah. And they are so cool. Like they're incredibly sweet, like really down to earth, good people. And then after that, we like I got off the Zoom, and then they sent you an email if you're in like the final round of callbacks.
Okay.
And I got that, and
that's still that same date, right?
Yeah, this is all the same day. It's like 6 a.m. I think I got off at like 10:30 or like 11. Like it was long. Wow. So yeah, definitely eat snacks. And like go for a walk. Like that really helped. Like I went outside and just like got my mind off of it for a bit, which really helped. So then we had the last email, and I freaked out. My mom was like 20 times more excited than I was. We were just like, the fact that I got this far, like that's good. Nothing else. Don't even need to do anything else. Like that's awesome. And she was super excited. And then after that, we did the final callback, which is I remember this one the most vividly because it was just really intense. It was like the entire faculty for sure. And I did my two pieces. Like, okay, great. And then I did my song. And I remember Richard Feldman, who is awesome. He's so cool. He he was like, oh, do you like musicals? I was like, yeah, like I like performing them. Like I did a couple of them in high school and middle school. He's like, okay, what's your favorite musical? I was like, Into the Woods, probably. And he's like, okay, how about you act, sing, dance, like do the entire Into the Woods, all of the parts, one man show Into the Woods in under a minute. And I was like, what? That freaked me out. But I was like, you know, I got this far. It's a fluke. Like, let me just have fun and go all out and don't care how silly or stupid or embarrassing it is, because this is a really cool opportunity to work with some of like the greatest teachers in the world, even if it's for a little bit. And so I go into it. I like throw a shirt over my head. I'm the witch. I do like the rap that she does. And and I do agony. Like it's like all over the place. I think I like blacked. I ended up doing like songs from different musicals and explaining the plot line through song. Like just, I did in like 8th grade. So I didn't really remember much of it. So I ended up doing it. I think it went on for way longer than a minute. At first I thought they were just messing with me because I was like, the end of the day, they've been here for 12 days. I want to laugh at somebody. But I think that actually like helped me a lot. I mean, I think it's like in general is that if like, just don't take yourself too seriously, I guess. Like, of course it's like important and it's, you know, it's like, don't take yourself too seriously, but just still have like laser focus and just and not taking yourself too seriously, I guess, where it's like, you know, don't be afraid to make mistakes because like they want to see that. They don't want you to be perfect or cookie cutter or anything like that. And I think just like being someone who can be taught and who isn't afraid to make mistakes is like super important.
Yeah. I mean, I think, what you did was great, right? You want to go into that environment ready to play and,
Yeah.
do whatever it is that they're asking you to do, right? And something else that you said that I think is really important for people to hear is to go full out, right? Because that's your opportunity, right? That's your one shot, and to
Yeah.
just really take advantage of it and not hold anything back, not let fear or ego or whatever get in your way, right?
Well, yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I mean, it's make believe, it's fun,
Yeah,
right?
it's literally just like the only reason people do this stuff is because we're kind of just we don't like doing real adult jobs. So let's like just be kids and have fun, you know?
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
meant to be fun. Like it's stressful and scary and it is draining sometimes, but like if you can always go back to the fun, it's never gonna feel like a job, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, great, very well said. So with schools, how many schools did you end up applying to?
I want to say like 6 or 7.
6 or 7? Okay.
Yeah, somewhere around
And
that.
obviously for BFA and BAs, um, how did you make a decision? Did you get online and research on their websites? Like, what was sort of that process for you to narrow down the schools that you wanted to specifically apply to?
Yeah, well, first of all, I really wanted a conservatory like experience. Like that was something that was super important to me is that um I don't know, I love the idea of like immersing myself in this craft for 4 years cuz like I'll go to school and I love learning, I love like education. It's just like the school system itself doesn't really jive well with me. Like I'd rather learn on my own or from like a mentor or something like that than just go to class for 8 hours a day. So I wanted to like immerse myself in just acting. So that was a big part of the conservatory. Also, like my grades aren't too good, so I kind of just like search up what acting conservatories. Don't look at your grades. And that kind of made a big decision.
Okay.
Um, and so yeah, and then I just like searched up like the top 25 like conservatories on like Google and saw the ones that look cool. And then I like started to do more research on the programs and
Yeah.
I found that like the thing that I was drawn towards most was um like the schools that had like a toolbox approach where it wasn't just like Meisner, Stanislavski, whatever. That it was kind of like a mixture of everything. Cause like I found that I do best when I like mix and match depending on, what the scene calls for or whatever.
Yeah. And what works best for you, right? And not feeling like you have to stick to one technique, um, and that's the only way to do things, right?
Yeah, because I think a lot of like teachers and just people in general like have a lot of pride in their technique that they like to use. And I think that pride can kind of like get in the way of like real exploration, like stuff that if you were only doing Meisner or if you're only doing Stanislavski stuff, like you you miss out on so much like potential on things that you could have explored if you just stick with one thing. It's like, you know, instincts can get you so far and the rest of it really comes down to technique and training and just experience. And so someone who's like 18, I have like no experience. I have to like really search for the technique where my instincts you know don't do it for me. And I think that like having the most tools possible is like never a bad thing. Like there's never too much that you can learn.
So, talking about that, what is your background in acting? Did you have an acting coach before? Did you do plays in school? Like, what was your sort of focus and any kind of prior training to auditioning?
So like most of my stuff was just high school productions. I wasn't like really too good at anything. And I think I did Alice in Wonderland in like 5th grade. Never really thought it was really good. I was like, oh, this is cool. It's like the first time people thought of it. So it started off as 100% validation thing, like just give me attention. But like as it went on and I started, I started to appreciate film and theater and just the arts more and more. It became less so about that attention and more so about like really finding something truthful and beautiful and having catharsis from performances. And so, yeah, it was like high school, middle school productions, musicals until like, I think my first one was junior year. It was like like a straight play. And that was Noises Off. And that was super fun. And then like I did a bunch of stuff like, here and there, but it was like 99% like school productions and like readings on Zoom, like just like little things. But I've really only stuck with like high school productions. And in terms of training, I went to Stella Adler last summer for conservatory, which was really cool. It was great. Like it was really nice to meet people who, I love the theater community. I love people who, like, the bonds you make are great. But I think, like, especially if you're in high school, and I'm sure like people who are watching this, like if you're in high school right now and like you want to take this seriously and it's like a career thing, that it can be frustrating sometimes to have people who don't take it as seriously as you, or almost ostracize you for taking it seriously. And when you surround yourself with people who take it as seriously as you do, it is so validating and it makes you feel like you're on the right path. So I think, like, more than anything, that was the main thing I got from that. So yeah, Stella Adler, high school productions, I had a little bit of coaching. But yeah, that's mainly it. Like, I haven't done too much else.
Amazing. So I want to circle back to the Juilliard audition, to just sort of ask, was there anything about that whole experience that surprised you, or that was unique about the Juilliard audition versus any of the other schools that you auditioned for? I mean, obviously the one man Into the Woods show was probably a big curveball, right? But anything else that was sort of that stood out to you?
Like I said, the thing with um with all the teachers being so welcoming and kind, it makes the biggest difference. Because I'm not going to name names, but there are a couple schools that, like, I went into the Zoom and they were just like, they didn't want me in the room. Like, they just, like, whatever it was, it could be a bad day. They just have seen, if I saw 100 kids for, a week straight, I'd be a little, a little messed up. But yeah, so there were a lot of schools that just didn't have, like, the vibes that encouraged, vulnerability, encouraged being yourself and making risks and sacrifices. But yeah, Juilliard, they were incredible with that. They just made you feel like you could do anything and it was okay, which
Yeah.
is great. Any other surprises? I mean, I guess, like, further down, like when it came to the callback weekend, that was a lot different, and that was like full of surprises. But in the initial, like, first day with all those callbacks, yeah, I mean, other than that, it was really, really cool to see the faculty be like that, and that was the main thing.
Amazing. So let's talk about callback weekend. How was that experience? That was in person. You
Yeah,
flew to New York.
yeah.
How many days was it? Yeah, let's talk about that whole experience.
Yeah. Oh man, this is like, if anybody gets the chance to do it, or if you've gotten the chance to do it, like, it is so worth it. Like, it was Thursday to Sunday, and it was just incredible. Like, the other candidates there, like, even like the people in my group now, they're amazing, and it ended up being a lot of people that I made great connections with. But even the people who, didn't end up in the group, like, I'm still talking to them and I'm still really good. Like, you make friends like the first day, and it's like bonds that are like, it almost felt like kind of like the military. Like, my dad, whenever I saw him with his army buddies and stuff, like, I would always notice, like, this energy in the air, this bond. And it was so strange to even see after 4 days. And I saw it much more in the third and fourth year students who are already there, that there's this bond of, like, ride or die, like, pushing each other. Like, we would have movement classes and we're doing dances and squats and yoga and all this stuff. And we're drenched in sweat and screaming. And we all look at each other and, like, we're pushing each other to keep going. And that part of it really did feel like the military in a way, where it was like just going through this stuff together and coming out of it stronger. So yeah, the people there are incredible. And it ended up just being, we took a lot of classes. I was kind of like an idea of what the schedule would be like if we went there.
Yeah.
So we had movement classes, we had voice, speech, we had improv, which was incredible. It wasn't just like improv games. We did like this imagination work, and I was on a magic carpet in space. I was underwater. It was insane. And yeah, we had all these classes, and I did my monologue 2 more times over that weekend. The first time, like, everybody had to do it. And then I think that was on Friday. And then Sunday, I got an email the night before saying, like, hey, we want to see your monologues again. I'm like, this is not good. They don't know if I'm there or not. Like they want to see more. I didn't sleep at all that night. I went to sleep at like 3 a.m. I was so stressed.
Oh,
And it
wow.
was so weird because I wasn't like nervous throughout any of the rest of the weekend. It was just this time. So yeah, I did the monologue another time, and that was great. It's just really it's a little intimidating to walk into the room, and it's like this giant like ceiling, and it's huge, and it's just you, and you're in this line, and then just all the faculty lined up on tables. That's a little scary, but they're welcoming, and they're sweet.
Yeah. So that last time on Sunday when you had to do them again, did you do both of them or just one?
That time, well, we had like a Romeo and Juliet scene we had to memorize for a class,
Okay.
and uh, and so they asked me to, and it was like they asked me to have just one of my monologues ready and to have Romeo and Juliet ready. And that last time was like, oh man, it really like sealed the deal for me knowing this is like the place I need to be, because I walked in there and I ended up only doing beggars, and we only worked on beggars.
Okay.
But I walked in that room, and they were just hounding me with notes and really like pushing me to just like go full like 110% of just like
Oh, wow.
real truth. Um, and it was nothing that I've ever experienced before. It was literally like otherworldly, like aliens like possessing me. Like it was like incredible. Like
Yeah.
oh, like in the beginning, my voice wasn't very grounded. I had good intentions. I had good actions. I was cool, but like at the end of it, I was like bawling, crying, and my voice was like supported, and I felt strong and
Yeah.
powerful, and that was it. And then I did that, and then Evan ran to go get like a ball, and I was like, oh God, what's going on? And
Oh, wow.
she like throws this ball at me. And so at the end of every line, so it's like, what's the matter with you? And so it's like each line I throw the ball back and forth. And that really helped me. And then like in the middle, she's like, all right, now go out to there. And so I did it. And that like gave me so much like just intention and support. And that was all I had to do. I didn't even end up doing the Romeo and Juliet. But yeah,
Oh,
that
that's
was intense. It was
That's
amazing.
so funny. Evan, so for everyone, Evan Yanulis used to teach at Yale, so she was actually my teacher, and we did that
Oh
a
yeah.
lot during heightened text. And
It
first,
really works.
oh yeah, yeah, and it's great when you have a scene as well because then you can throw the ball back and forth between you and your scene partner also.
Yeah, because I was talking about this with one of the guys. He was like, "Yeah, it's really hard, to just like basically you have the eye line and you're trying to like look above all these people and imagine someone's really there, and it's kind of difficult to do if you haven't like worked that muscle of imagination enough. It's really difficult, and
Yeah,
to have almost like a scene partner to throw, even if they don't have any lines, to almost like react at the end of each line and to grab it back. It made it feel more like a scene than just like a pre-rehearsed, you already know what you're going to say type of monologue,
yeah. So that you're really listening and taking in as well. That's great. So was it so that last day on Sunday, was it just you when you went into the room and all of the faculty, or was it the rest of your cohort in your group that were also doing the callback weekend?
So they would just call people
Yeah,
individually
one
to
at a
come
time.
through.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And you said that you got an email that the night before saying they wanted to see the monologues again. Was that for everybody or was that just for a certain portion of the group?
Honestly, like I don't think it's worth like reading into what it means because I still haven't figured it out.
Yeah.
But no, it was like a certain portion of the people. And I have no clue why they did it. I'm
Okay.
glad they did because it was a great experience for me, and it
Yeah.
felt really good to do all that. But yeah, I'm not sure why they did it, but it was maybe 30% of the people, 30 to 50% of the people.
Okay.
So.
How many people were in the callback weekend total? And then how many people are in your class, in your group?
Yeah, so it's like 40 to 50, and that's for undergrad and grad.
Okay.
I think there were definitely more grads like candidates than there were undergrad.
Oh, wow.
Um, yeah, and even the undergrad students tended to be people who either hadn't gotten their degree or hadn't gone to college and were just doing their undergrad, and they were much older.
Yeah.
But so yeah, there was like 40 or 50 people, and now like I think for the entire group, which is BFA and MFA are in the same group, and I think it's 18 people.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. Yeah, it's usually somewhere between like 16 and 18
Yeah.
for those types of programs. Well, cool. So that leads us to, what was it like the moment that you found out you got accepted?
Okay. So honestly, like I have terrible self-confidence as a person, but I think I have fairly good confidence as an actor, which I feel like are two separate things. And but even then, I'll do a performance and be like, someone say good job, like, okay, whatever, tell me what was wrong. But like honestly, after Sunday, I just had a really good feeling. I felt like I did everything I possibly could, and that I really like gave who I was as a human being, like at the core, and I told the truth, and I just wasn't afraid to do that. And so after that, I felt really good, but I was still checking my phone like every 5 seconds for Kathy to call me. And I think it was Tuesday. So Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Tuesday it was like after school, and I was like in my bed, and I was just like freaking out because the whole day I hadn't got anything, and I was just like, oh my God, what's going on? And I just saw the contact pull up for Kathy Hood, and she is the greatest woman to ever live. She is so kind. She's like a superhero. Like she just does everything. She's great. And so I got the call, answered. She's like, "Hey, how's it going?" "Oh, I'm good. How are you? I miss you guys already." And she's like, "Oh, well, back in order." I was like, "Yep." It's like, "Well, I've Evan on the phone with me." And then Evan thought, like, "Hey, how's it going?" And she's like, "Well, I just want to welcome you to Group 55." And I was like, "Oh my God!" And I I was just like, "Thank you, thank you, thank you." I didn't even know what to say. I had no clue what to say. I was like, "I don't know what to say, but thank you so much."
Yeah.
And I'm gonna go scream and cry for about an hour. All right, thank you, have a good one. And we hung up, and I just like, my brother was in the other room, and he heard me just like laughing. I was like maniacal. It was terrible. It was just like I felt like I was levitating. It was really an incredibly rewarding experience. Yeah, I still can like replay it like 100%. It was
Oh
amazing.
yeah. How was your mom thrilled and excited?
Yeah. I mean, throughout the whole thing, like I would just be like, hey, even if it was like any other schools, like, hey mom, I got my first call back. Could you just start crying? Like she's so supportive about it. So
Amazing.
she like honestly, she was incredibly excited and she was crying and happy, but she was like, I knew you're gonna get in. And I was like, I did not, but thank you. But it was really sweet to know that, she supported me. But yeah, it was great. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So acting tools, you talked about, different tools, that sort of thing. And I'm curious, what do you think is necessary for a good college audition? Any advice that you would give to students who are auditioning this coming year and in the future?
Sorry, my dogs are barking.
Oh, no worries.
Um, God, I mean, that's so hard to say because I feel like it is like a person to person. Because like I said, at the end of the day, all they want is you, like the genuine version of you. Because the great thing about acting and theater in general is that, you know, all the walls that you've put up in like real life and society, you get to just tear them down for a bit and to really explore what it's like almost to like be a child, like we were talking about.
Yeah.
And so, everybody's child version of themselves or whatever is completely different. But just all in all, I'd say, yeah, like just don't be afraid to mess up. Really, really focus on the text. Like that's super important. I think like 90% of the work we did was just about like being incredibly specific with everything you do.
Yeah.
Like even if the word the is in the line, have like a reason to say the. Like there's
Yeah.
really no word that's not unimportant or
Yeah.
no a thought that's unimportant.
I mean,
Um,
that last day, the last session that we had right before your initial audition for Juilliard, we went through beggars and we like went through all of the imagery that Shanley has in that text to make it really specific. So that makes sense to me, right?
yeah, so specificity, just having fun. Um, and this is like, I guess not so much about auditioning in general, but what I found just like as a general rule is like don't, at the end of the day, this is incredible. It's a passion. It makes me incredibly happy to be able to do it. But it is like just a job at the end of the day. And art is just art. And it's beautiful and does incredible things. It changes the world. But just be a human being first and do as much as you can to live and to experience the beauty and the good and the ugly at the same time. And to like, because everything that I've connected with and found, even if that is done through technique, at the end of the day, does come from personal experience. It does come from like taking everything in and really appreciating it. So I'd say like, don't do anything that you can't understand, which doesn't mean like you don't have the intellectual capacity or the emotional intelligence. It's just do something that you know, I guess, where because they want to see a part of you, because auditioning is such a different experience and a different skill than acting. Yeah, so I'd say find things that reflect you and what you know, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Example, but if any of those things, if they were to take it.
For sure, to reveal yourself, right? And something you said earlier really stood out to me is I came in to tell the truth. The truth, something that you know in your heart. And that is why we always suggest finding material that really gives life to your voice as an artist.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Thank you again for taking the time to chat with me, John, and share your story with our audience. I know that it helps future students and applicants prepare for these top drama school auditions. And again, I can't say it enough, congratulations. I am so excited to hear about the next steps in your acting journey.
Well, thank you so much for like all your help. Like, you're like, this dude's amazing. Like you put up with like me not knowing how to do anything and just like, oh God, like I think back on some of our sessions and it's like, yeah, like you helped me out a lot.
You were great, right? You always brought in great material, and that's the thing that was really interesting. You know, we coach a lot of students, and you really know yourself, right? You knew the kind of stuff that you gravitated toward, and that was something. You know, it wasn't something that I had to instruct, right? You brought in material. I gave you that monologue list and you found beggars and you were like, oh yeah, this is great. And I was like, oh yeah, of course. Like as we got to know each other, I was like, yeah, that's perfect for you.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's super important as well. So cool. Awesome. Thank you, John. We really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah. Have a great rest of your day. Okay.
Thank you, you too. It was good talking to you.
Yeah.